The Book of Daniel, from the Old Greek, specifically Alfred Rahlfs Septuagint. This translation is in the public domain. Links will be in the description below. Chapter 6. And Artaxerxes of the Medes took the kingdom, and Darius was full of days and glorious in old age. And he set 127 satraps over all his kingdom, and over them their 3 chief men. And one of the 3 men was Daniel, having power over all in the kingdom. And Daniel was clothed in purple, and great and glorious before Darius the king, as he was glorious, and endued with knowledge and prudent, and there was a Holy Spirit in him, and he was prospering in the affairs of the king which he did. Then the king determined to set Daniel over all his kingdom, and the 2 men whom he had set in place with him, and 127 satraps. Now when the king determined to set Daniel over all his kingdom, then among themselves the 2 young men determined on a counsel and device, speaking one to another, since they found no sin nor ignorance against Daniel, for which they shall accuse him to the king. And they said, Come, let us establish a restrictive decree against ourselves, that no man shall entreat a petition, nor shall in any wise vow a vow of any god for 30 days, save of Darius the king, or else he shall die, that they might overcome Daniel before the king, and that he might be cast into the den of lions. For they knew that Daniel prays and beseeches the Lord his God thrice in the day. Then came those men and said before the king, We established a restrictive decree and a statute, that every man who shall vow a vow or entreat any petition of any god for 30 days, save of Darius the king, shall be cast into the den of lions. And they entreated the king that he might establish the restrictive decree and change it not, for they knew that Daniel prays and beseeches thrice in the day, that he might be overcome through the king and cast into the den of lions. And thus King Darius established and confirmed it. But Daniel, knowing the restrictive decree which he established against him, opened the windows in his upper chamber toward Jerusalem, and fell on his face thrice in the day, as he did before, and besought the Lord. And they watched Daniel, and overtook him, praying thrice in the day, every day. Then these men made intercession to the king, and said, O King Darius, hast thou not determined a restrictive decree, that no man shall vow a vow, nor entreat a petition of any god for 30 days, save of thee, O king, or else he shall be cast into the den of lions? And the king answered and said to them, The word is exact, and the restrictive decree shall remain. And they said to him, We adjure thee by the decrees of the Medes and Persians, that thou change not the ordinance, nor respect the person, and that thou diminish not any of the things that were spoken, and punish the man who continued not in this restrictive decree. And he said, Thus will I do as ye say, and it has established this for me. And they said, Behold, we found Daniel, thy friend, praying and beseeching the face of his God thrice in the day. And grieving, the king said that Daniel was to be cast into the den of lions, according to the restrictive decree which he established against him. Then the king was exceedingly grieved for Daniel, and he helped to deliver him from the hands of the satraps until the setting of the sun, and he was not able to deliver him from them. But Darius the king cried out and said to Daniel, Thy God, whom thou servest continually thrice in the day, he will deliver thee out of the hand of the lions until the morning. Take courage. Then Daniel was cast into the den of lions, and a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den. And the king sealed it with his ring and with the rings of his nobles, that Daniel might not be taken away from them, nor the king draw him up out of the den. Then the king returned to his royal dwellings and passed the night fasting, and he was grieving for Daniel. Then the God of Daniel, making provision for him, shut the mouths of the lions, and they did not trouble Daniel. And King Darius rose up early in the morning, and he took with him the satraps, and went and stood at the mouth of the den of lions. Then the king called Daniel with a loud voice, with weeping, saying, O Daniel, dost thou surely live? And has thy God, whom thou servest continually, saved thee from the lions? So they have not brought thee to nothing? Then Daniel heard the loud voice and said, O king, I am yet alive, and God has saved me from the lions, because righteousness was found in me before him. And moreover, before thee, O king, neither ignorance nor sin was found in me. But thou hast hearkened to men that deceive kings, and thou hast cast me into the den of lions for destruction. Then all the powers were gathered together and saw Daniel, how the lions did not trouble him. Then those two men that bore witness against Daniel, they and their wives and their children, were cast to the lions. And the lions slew them and crushed their bones. Then Darius wrote to all the nations and provinces and tongues who dwell in all his land, saying, Let all the men which are in my kingdom bow themselves and serve the God of Daniel. For he is God, abiding and living for generations of generations forever. I, Darius, shall be bowing myself and serving him all my days. For the idols made with hands are not able to save, as the God of Daniel has redeemed Daniel. And King Darius was added to his family. And Daniel was set over the kingdom of Darius, and Cyrus the Persian took his kingdom.